Hello, everybody. This is Kops Office Hours. Today is Friday, September the 11th. I'm your moderator facilitator, John Myers. I work for Proofpoint. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet. Please be mindful of the code of conduct, which is basically to be a good person. I put a link to the agenda in the Zoom chat, which actually I've not done yet. Somebody else has. And please feel free to put your name on the attendees list and add any items you'd like to discuss to the agenda in the appropriate place. And with that, we'll get started with action items from the last time. And I believe we did a bunch of releases. Cyprian here? Yes. What's going on with Alpha 4?
I didn't have time this week to cut it. I will try to do it over the weekend. Wanted to ask Justin mainly if it's okay to publish it, considering that I fixed the GitHub mirroring. So you will be able to do a slower copying to artifacts, Kubernetes IO.
Yes, that sounds great. Are you talking about Alpha 3 or Alpha 4?
4. You already did the Alpha 3.
Cool.
I know.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yes, I did that. Cool. Yeah. I think it should be. Let's. Yeah. As long as you test it and it works, then yeah, I think that sounds great.
Well, I can test it only after I release it, so that's the catch.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But I tried it with Alpha 3 binaries and works.
Okay.
I set the mirror to that somehow.
Yeah, and we can always, if it doesn't work, just ping me and I can do whatever the extra stuff is, the extra publishing steps.
By the way, do we still want to keep mirroring on AWS?
I think we have to. I think we want to get to artifacts.k8s.io, and artifacts.k8s.io will eventually, hopefully, have a mirror on S3. But I think, my opinion is we would like artifacts.k8s.io to be the canonical location, and it is not yet the canonical location. Right now, the canonical location is still that S3 bucket, which is why we have to publish them there. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do this, because we'll see. I thought that some of the SHAs had to be pulled from the S3 bucket, so I don't know.
I don't think so. It worked for me. I did some changes in the code and I removed all the mirroring for anything but GitHub, all the other mirrors, and it worked. But we should, before the release, at least change the default location to artifacts, I guess, and leave the S3 one.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, I think there's no, it's no worse than where we are today in terms of difficulty of publishing, and there is a much clearer path to making it community published, as it were.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we had that issue just talking about office hours in a different time zone. Whose item is that?
I added it because I don't think Peter is around. So he did it, he wrote the issue. Let me paste the link in chat. Sorry, I'm a bit late to the call. Okay, chat. So this is the link to the issue. I think there were some opinions, but I don't think there were that many.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how we're going to get to a resolution on this.
So I don't really know. I think I missed the discussion last time. But I don't know exactly, do we want to do another one? Do we want to move this one? Or is there a purpose? I mean, can it be done? Or we're just discussing?
I think we wanted to try to find a more inclusive time for people. I think it's not, I think there's some concerns over the day, like Friday evening for Europe. I think we also don't want to like, it'll be difficult to find a time that's universally better, and we don't necessarily want to sort of divide our things such that people feel like decisions are made in both and like the decision making is less clear. We could try having an additional meeting where we avoid like any contentious decision making in a more friendly or a different time slot. We could try that and see whether people show up and whether people like it. That could be a way forwards.
So I could try something like that for you, because I think there may be some contributors that may want to discuss with some maintainers in a, well, not Friday evening. I'm okay with that, but that's one of the points.
Do we, is a different day available? I don't know what other meetings we run up against.
I think we're always going to clash with, well, it's not, if it's in sort of off California hours, it might not clash with anything, but we're likely to clash with something. And the question is, what are we going to clash with?
Yeah,
we can.
Yeah, I'm sure that the 9 Pacific is prime meeting hours. But
well, and I remember that you couldn't do it earlier, or you could do it much earlier, I think.
Yeah, yeah, 1 or 2 hours earlier is difficult, and before then it's just getting up. But you know, household and distance learning kind of knocks out the 8 o'clock slot for me.
So basically we're stuck at 9, I guess, because after that it's,
yeah.
I doubt anyone in Europe will show up at 9 p.m. something.
So okay, I think we don't have any resolution to do today. So I guess we'll move on to etcd manager support for etcd 3.4.13. Cyprian?
I did a PR. Later I discovered that etc was moved away to etcd manager. So, or etcd ADM, sorry.
Yeah, it's, I can give it, you're still sending the PRs to the right place. As part of the idea of getting the images, or getting etcd manager into the sigskits.io area and publishing images in that way, we will at some stage move over. Right now we are mirroring, or manually mirroring, into that other repo and trying to get everything else set up. So continue to send PRs here. If you really want to, yeah, no, please send PRs here for now, because I don't want to have to like, please don't send them to the, yeah. And then, so this is good. Is for 3.4.13 the version that is in 120 or?
It's in 191. So whatever, the 119 got it in the first patch release. So they changed it.
Cool, because I thought I saw there was, is it also the latest version? Because I thought I saw there was some other fixes coming in. Oh no, it's perfect. Yeah, it's new. Okay, great. We'll get that in.
It was 9 or something and was bumped to 13 a week ago. So I think this will probably be the last etcd change for 119.
Barring disasters, I agree. Yes, previously it was in a weird state where like the client was on one version and the server was on another version, and it was just like, so it's good that like everything has converged. So this is great.
Okay, and probably we should get a release for that, because we need to test in kops. I mean, even if it won't be the final release, at least something to get soaked in in here.
Okay, ship bot.
That's a PR that you should merge if you don't mind.
I will actually try to do it. If we get a moment, I will do it before I log off this machine, because that's been the problem. But yes, I will do it. Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Okay, John,
Yeah,
it's you now.
yeah. So I wanted to give a rundown of my project to refactor a bunch of stuff, primarily around the problem of you change something and it takes effect before you do the update cluster yes or the Terraform apply. And there are sort of three categories. One is managed files. If you're using Terraform or CloudFormation, looks like they get updated when you do the update cluster before you do the apply. And there is a new resource type in Terraform for a file in an AWS bucket or in a GCE bucket. And so I'm trying to refactor stuff to use that instead for Terraform, running into an import cycle, which I have to figure out. What I'm trying to do is get the code for generating that Terraform in VFS, which means I need something that can generate Terraform, which does not depend on model, the rest of the target. Otherwise, everything gets in a cycle. I don't think there's a solution for CloudFormation because they don't have a resource for a file in an S3 bucket. The next thing is things that read the instance group specs. If they're reading them after apply, then they're going to read the new version before it got applied. I refactored a lot of stuff in NodeUp to put stuff into the model context, but there are two things that are potentially large and might not fit in the user data. And so if I can get the managed files, in Terraform properly, then I might create a managed file per launch template version so that the user data can pull it from the appropriate managed file. And the other is the PR for kops controller to take the node labels from the cloud tags instead of from reading them from the instance group spec. And I was wondering, yeah.
On the creation of a file per launch template version, how does that compare to like versioning the instance groups and keeping a history of the instance groups? But the input YAML rather than the transformed YAML or transformed data.
Well, it seems whatever we do, it's going to be per launch template version, because every time, basically every time that changes,
right,
you need a new one of those, and then you need to do some sort of garbage collection. So when you remove the launch template version, you need to remove that file. And
one moment with launch templates. I'm at my third or fourth attempt to make it versioned. It's kind of painful, but I think we should try to make it versioned and don't keep launch templates with different names as we did with launch configurations.
You mean using the launch template version rather than using different versions of launch templates?
Creating a new launch template per time, yeah.
Yeah, basically we create every time a new one with version 1.
Yeah.
And using it. So that's probably giving us a lot of trouble with describe various things. We search for it with different names. you right now added a PR to sort them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
to cut
agree
down
that,
on the cut down on the query calls. Yeah.
so I think we should try and find a way to use the versions. The problem is that in the autoscaling group, if it looks at the ID or something, so if you use versions, then it doesn't figures out that it changed, and you cannot, it doesn't update the version in itself. So it always wants a new name at the moment. That's one problem. And then how to actually, well, when you render it, you should always use the latest version, whatever everything was before. I mean, whatever someone chooses there. So, yes. Anyway, so before we do more workarounds around launch templates, probably we should try to use them correctly.
Yeah, and then not sure what how difficult that refactor would be, but
It's not that hard, but it's a bit tricky on.
yeah, well, the tricky part's going to be transition, because it's still going to have to be able to track the old launch templates that got created before the refactor.
Well,
Clean them
that's
out.
the delete part, because you don't really care. The auto-scaling, you just care that the auto-scaling group has a different name for your launch template. And once you change it, once you add the patch, it will just replace it like it does right now.
Well, you'll still need to get rid of the old ones.
That's a delete part, so that's not functional. It's just something that runs every time there's a delete function. So we can add some logic there to clean up the old ones. Right now we keep the latest 3 launch templates.
Yeah.
Something.
And we'll want to keep the latest 3 versions. So.
No, because I don't think it hurts us to keep all the versions. Is there a...
Suspect it might, especially if we've got other associated files with them.
Well, anyway, it's pretty easy to do it when the launch template has the same name, you know, the latest version. So you can just try to delete everything that's older than latest -3. Something.
So anyway, to finish up, so I'm wondering, so Justin, you had some concern about what was happening with the node level, like taking the node labels from the COD tags, or?
It wasn't a concern. It was along the same lines as where I was going there. It was, I feel like if the motivation is like, there are other things that come from the instance group. And so sure, we can get the node labels here, but are you sort of kicking the can down the road and we're going to have to deal with the instance group version? And I mean, it sounds like you are dealing with it, and that's...
Yeah, I'm trying to fix everything, but...
Yes, and what I'm wondering is like, the more obvious to me way is to keep the history of the instance groups themselves, right? And that's sort of what we built in Cluster API with like, where a machine set is a version of the instance group and a machine deployment is an instance group. So we don't have the same clear separation, but that was what I was wondering about, is like, is it going to be easier just to keep versions of these files and reference them, rather than like, you know, trying to like find each place type thing?
What I've been doing is moving more towards referring to the node up model context instead of referring to the instance group spec. So having the cloud up process pick out the data that you actually want for the various components and put it where the components can read it. And so sort of having different format there.
And that's
there are
nice.
advantages and disadvantages to that.
Yeah.
Because you have to do the moving around.
Yeah, the huge advantage of that is it might create it should create more accurate rolling update logic, right? Like we can better detect whether a change actually like caused a real change or was some random thing that was like in a different place. That will be good. We're gonna start bumping up against the 16K limit, right, of metadata.
Yeah, and so then we might need like an in bucket representation of basically our user data, but
which would be fine as I mean, I guess that makes, so from that perspective that makes sense. So like I think what you're saying, to paraphrase, is you are doing instance group versions, but at the same time you are also saying like it's incorrect to actually do instance groups. We should be doing versions of the node-up model context, and that's a better thing to do. And we might well hit a 16K limit, and so we will put those onto S3, and we will delete them along with the launch templates.
Put the large things in there. Yeah.
That makes that okay. That sounds great. Yeah, that was what my meta concern was. It was just around the that.
Yeah. So I started wanting to get a read on, am I going in the right direction? Because I've kind of fallen down this rabbit hole and made some decisions, but am I actually trying to do the right things?
Now you've explained that. That makes a ton of sense to me. I don't know how hard it is to get everything that is currently read from instance group into node-up model context. That is.
I've been concentrating on getting the things that are in the instance group spec, and haven't been touched anything that's in the cluster spec, because we have the completed cluster spec. So, I might do a follow-up pass on that, but right now I'm still I'm fighting those import loops in Terraform. That's sort of where I'm stuck right now.
I'll have a look at that import loop as well along with before I close this machine. That sounds really good to me. I very much like that it sounds like we will end up with a very clear, explicit specification of exactly what is going to run on a particular machine with minimal like node-up logic, which is always that makes me happier. The less node-up logic we need, the better, because it's sort of opaque.
Pain to test.
Yes. Yes, and so like I think that's good. And yes, we will hit the 16K limit, and we will have to put it in S3 or VFS. And if we're willing to do that, that to me sounds good. I don't know if anyone else has an opinion.
Okay, so that's what I have on that. So I guess we'll move on to Docker binary install for node-up.
Great. Hi, Michael Andrews. This is talking about PR 7974. And really, this PR was a replacement for the PR I'm about to send in this chat here, 6956. Downloading Docker is not allowed for our company. So we have, oddly enough, we can download it through our Artifactory mirror, but we can't hit it directly, Docker Hub. So we have tried to do a PR here for specifying where to go get Docker. And that was the first PR 6956, where we overrode the Docker slice in Docker Go at line 89. And we provided a way to specify the slice you want in your cluster spec. And talking about the 16K limit on user data, once we moved to 19 and we had to put all those dependencies in there, right? We hit that pretty quick. So it also doesn't allow us to do heterogeneous clusters, obviously. So we opted for PR 7974 here, install Docker from a static binary, in which we could host an Artifactory. And that seems to work well for us, although it's still not probably ideal, right? So in earlier office hours, Austin Moore, who had done these PRs, unfortunately has broken my heart and left the group. So he's not here today. But there was talk at earlier office hours about just rethinking this whole way of downloading Docker and installing Docker on the nodes and all that. So we're kind of here just to ask, is that a priority to refactor how we do Docker install? And if it's not, can we get this PR merged or looked at to install from a static binary?
Can I speak or so? Right now, all the installs are done from static binaries. Just didn't expose the option of installing it from, there is no option in the cluster spec. I'm working on something to move it, let's say, in the apply section, so that when you run apply cluster together with all the other artifacts, you will also see the Docker binary. So it will make it Docker archive. So it will make it easier to install a custom one, as long as it looks like the one from Docker repo. It's not hard. So I already have something working. I didn't push it as work in progress, but I don't see why it won't be part of 119. As long as you're okay with running 119, I think there won't be a problem to be able to do that. So this was on my to-do list for the next, I don't know, 1 month or so until we release 119.
That's really great to hear. We've been cherry picking our PR on top of your releases and hosting kops internally to get around this issue. It'd be great to use the open source project instead of having to host our own kops. So just so I can understand this, when you say everything's installed now with the static binary, previously we saw a big slice, a Docker slice in Docker versions in the Docker Go at line 89 for, maybe I'm just wrong on that, but that's changed. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And maybe I'm just not this guy here. I just pasted that into the chat. So
yeah,
so is this what you're talking about? It's been kind of redone here.
What do you, if you were looking at this file from latest, you will see that all the latest Docker versions don't have OS anything. So we are installing that from the TGZ. Okay,
great. That's fantastic. So this is from the PR, obviously. So it makes sense. Okay, well that's really good news. And yeah, we can definitely wait to 119 on this. And just to be clear, there will be a way for us to specify where to go get the TGZ if we want to host it ourselves.
I mean, does Docker not go through asset remapping?
At the moment, it doesn't go because it's in Node app.
Okay.
So this was one of the reasons that I want to move it in apply, because this way you could actually host everything on your mirror. Yeah. But providing an easy URL for it, not to mirror everything like we have in our settings now, may be easier. We already allow pretty much overriding anything.
Yeah, we should. I think it should go through asset remapping, ideally in the long term. But there's also a valuable use case in being able to specify a TGZ. In that, suppose like it looks like the latest version we have is 1903.11. Docker let's suppose they released like 1903.12. Like it would be nice to be able to just like drop that in there and sort of override easily. So I think that's an important reason to allow arbitrary.
It's not a problem. My only question would, so right now there is no versioning there. So if Docker tomorrow decides to change the way the structure is inside the archive, we will have to modify and add versions. But as it is now, it's a pretty simple model and we just have to copy everything in one directory, I think. So we're good to go. Just that you will have to wait another 1 month or 2, something, until it's released. Maybe you can drop me a message on Slack so that I can ping you and you can maybe test it when it's ready.
Yep.
I can
That'd be
also
fantastic.
in the PR.
Great. Really good news, guys. Thank you very much. This is kind of the last piece for us, you know, so it's good to hear that that it's getting addressed. Thank you.
Sirpi, you want to talk about ARM64 manifest tests?
Yeah, I tried various things, but depends on credentials, and I don't have credentials to see if, let's say, manifest tool works with whatever the cloud build environment provides to generate the manifests. For sure, it works with Docker because I think most projects do that. I saw it in Nginx. So my question is, can I do some PRs to see if it works, you know, and revert them, or is there a better way?
Well, you should put up a work in progress PR. I may be able to get an answer for you on whether or not it will work. If we have high confidence, we can merge it. The other way would be to create a second build and like do that. I think if you have access, like there shouldn't be anything special about the cloud build, about our cloud build, ideally. So if you have access to GCP, and I don't know if you have, like, you know, you can just run a cloud build on your own account. I can also do that, obviously, on my own account, just like as a user of GCP. And so we can get confidence that way if you put up a work in progress PR, I think, and then we can make the call, I think. We're only technically using it for like the latest releases. So like the 119 alpha releases. So it's not the end of the world if we temporarily break it, I don't think. But I'd still like to see it.
I think it works also for.
Oh yeah, the stable releases, yeah. Sorry.
So this is why I meant that I could commit something and see if it gets the credentials. Not necessarily like an alpha 5 or something.
Yeah, that's definitely send the PR, and yeah, let's be a little cautious in merging it, and we can see if it works.
Okay. Also about that CD manager, do we plan on doing something? We can also not create manifest there because it's kind of static. So we know what to load on the nodes. It's not via daemon set or something. But we should have the images built.
You're talking about ARM or multi-arch?
So I'm talking about ARM in particular. If we want multi-arch, we can do it even later because we don't really care about it being multi-arch right now.
Right.
We care only that it's built for 2 architectures. We can do the same thing we do for the Kubernetes images and just replace AMD with ARM when we deploy.
Now, I think I did a PR, a work in progress PR a while ago to add ARM support. Would you like me to update that? Or is there more you Or are you asking something different?
I did an update to that also, so a bit further. But there is no, as I didn't find a way to do the manifest with Bazel, there's still the question of how to do that part. So with Docker, it's simple, but depends.
But I thought you said you were not blocked on the multi-arch, the manifest, or do you want
I'm
them?
not blocked on the manifest. So if we do the images separately, like AMD64 and ARM64, we can load them inside kops based on the name. So because we don't have it in a daemon set or deployment.
Okay, so if we let's at least get, regardless, that feels like the first step to get the separately named images, right? And we can get that going. And
yeah,
so
that would be great.
okay, so I'll look at that PR and make sure we can merge it. Is that right?
Yeah, probably there are some changes to be done because I had to remove the 221 etcd 221 because I can't build it on Mac for some reason.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, like there is no 221 build of, yeah, it's just not going to happen. So like there will be no etcd2 support on ARM64, which I don't think will upset anyone.
It's not about that, but I couldn't build even the AMD one. So
Oh, okay. That's
not
odd.
sure why, but it's okay. By the way, do we plan to remove it at some point for newer versions?
Yes, I think once we deprecate, is it
111. Is it 111?
I had a feeling it was like 116. I honestly, I can't remember the history anymore.
Okay.
Yes, once we deprecate the appropriate version, we
Yeah.
should remove it.
Okay. Cool.
Unless anyone is going to say they actually still use etcd2. Good.
Okay, release plan. I don't think we really have anything we're planning to release except Alpha 4.
Alpha 4, yeah. I mean, we did 117.2 and 118.1. I guess etcd manager, like getting that built into KSGCRAO would be good. Getting the etcd manager ARM builds going would be good.
I think etcd in general, I think we have some OpenStack incompatibility, and this is why a release would be nice. Not sure if it affects 118, but at least 119 alphas are affected.
Like an etcd manager bug, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Ollie Marcus sent a PR. You merged it a few weeks ago or something.
Okay.
But
we haven't pushed it through.
Okay.
Okay, and we talked last time about deciding what we want to do with the release 119 release branch this week. I kind of get the idea we're probably not ready for it yet. Is anyone, what do people think? Do we want to branch for 119 or hold off on that?
And if we branch, we can still, like, that doesn't imply that we do the release or anything. It just implies that
yeah. Do we have things we want to put into 120 and not into 119?
So I saw that this week there was a surge in bugs reported. My guess is that this is the time when people start using 118 or 118.1. So if we don't want to backport into 2 releases, maybe we want to wait another 2 weeks. So that's my only objections. Other than that, don't think that there is anything huge that we cannot backport.
And I don't see any massive things. I mean, there's the we're using feature flags, I think, to be able to put things in that aren't ready to necessarily go in. I don't think there's anything that's too problematic from that point of view. If like the launch template version thing came in, maybe we'd want to branch at that point. But
not quite, because we have some big issues with launch templates and hitting the limits.
okay,
There is an issue.
there is a PR for that, right? So
No,
we did merge a PR for that. I do not know to what extent that has solved the problem.
sufficient.
So
yeah, there is an issue saying that for 30 instance groups, they get about 2,000 requests to API about describe launch template versions.
Okay, I'll read that one as well. But anyway, it sounds like we're not ready to cut. One thing I actually want to think about is now one flip side of not exporting the kubeconfig at all is that now like the flow, you have to specify the cluster name a lot. So I don't know if we can somehow address that. I am playing with and trying to break the thing I did where you have the plugin model. So maybe we can make the plugin. I don't necessarily want to make the plugin the default, but I'm trying to think of a way where we can export, like have the kubeconfig exported so that we have some notion of a current cluster, which is otherwise makes the workflows a little bit painful, in my opinion. The manual workflow is a little bit painful.
So I think as long as you're not exporting a credential, it's probably okay.
Right.
So.
But yeah, but yes, then the problem is to not export the credential, I have to activate a mode which we were like, well, this is an experimental like thing for the future. Don't worry about it. And now it's like, oh no, it's not so experimental. So that wasn't the intent.
Okay. So anything else? I think we might have 15 minutes.
Looks like Simone left a note about Hacktoberfest.
Yes. Not sure what to line up on that.
I'm in favor of doing something. I need to learn more about what Hacktoberfest is. Like, am I allowed to contribute to it as a Googler? But you know, like I'm in favor of doing something personally. If other people are as well, that would be great. But I think we can. Yeah, the question is how we can continue the conversation. I think a GitHub issue is probably a great way to go.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing was for us to find and tag issues like beginner or something for people to look and try.
Yeah, I don't know if we if it's people coming in and fixing small things, I think that's going to be harder for people to contribute to, right? I hope if we have a small issue in the tracker that it's suitable for tagging, that it might have already been fixed. But
no, we've got a few tagged that way.
I think the worry is always that they are tagged that way, but they are actually like, oh, actually, when you try to fix it, you're going to find this and then this and then this sort of thing. I feel like we could try to identify some appropriately scoped projects that could be done in a Hacktoberfest timeframe of like realistically a week of evenings, so like 4 or 5 evenings. But
I think we have 9 good first issue tagged issues right now.
So shall I propose, let's open an issue. Let's open an issue to discuss. Let's look at the issues which in that issue, which might be good issues, and do that. And decide whether we have anything that actually is a good opportunity for people.
I know a few people that want to be involved, so I'll open that issue.
Cool. David, I don't know whether you're waving or volunteering or.
I'm one of those people that wants to get involved.
Ah, great.
I'm David Muckle from Sonos.
Awesome. And what,
I work with Mike.
I don't know if you better understand it. Like, obviously you can only speak for yourself, or maybe others, but I mean, like, what would you be more interested in doing, like a longer, like a bigger scope project, or but still like appropriately sized, or like a bunch of small type things?
That's a good question. Because my perspective as someone who's new to this project in terms of contributing, I would like to do whatever would best get me exposed to as much of the project as possible. So to that end, I think that would be a lot of smaller issues. That being said, I also see merit in taking like a whole month to do one really big thing.
Right.
Maybe not a whole month, but like 2 weeks.
Yes, exactly. Like it's described as a month, but yeah. Okay, that's really helpful to know. Like, yeah, a good first issue where you go and like change %V to %W is going to, in theory, touch all the lines, but not actually like give you any real exposure to what's going on, for example. So like it's good to understand your sort of motivation, and yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll drop in an issue into the meeting notes as well.
Oh, thank you.
In any case, if someone wants to start doing work on the project, I may be okay to, let's say, keep issues for someone, because we're getting various bugs that when you fix, you will learn a bit more on how kops works. You know, someone explaining to a newcomer how things are going, or you know what you did wrong, and not doing it via GitHub all the time may be easier to get started. So if there is someone interested, I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, anything else?
I don't know. I had a question about Azure support. It's one of our top requests, at least from the past. Has about 100 votes, but we don't have, well, not that we don't have anyone, but I don't know, do we have some account with Azure or something? Like, any idea if we want to start doing ourselves, you know, trying to start the support, would it be possible, or it's just something that someone has to be involved with Azure, or, you know, use it to actually make sense?
I strongly suspect if you are not an Azure user, you will not want to do that. You'll not want to be the person to start the thing. It's very different terminology from what I've looked at.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's I think this is where why it stayed open for so long is, or like hasn't been started, is because there is a chicken and egg thing here where I don't think anyone that knows Azure has felt motivated to do it. I think there is cluster API for Azure, so maybe that's a way we'll get there one day. But you know, we don't have a ton of demand for it. So, sorry, we don't have a ton of people. We don't have a ton of contributors that want it, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but like they actually want it themselves, and so I didn't know whether someone's.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So I mean, if we have a contributor that wants to to do that, I think that's great. If someone wants to learn and do it as a project, someone that knows Azure wants to like, if someone knows Azure wants to add it to kops, that's wonderful, and we can like work with them on that. Oh, David, do you know Azure?
No, I was adjusting my lamp.
Oh, okay. I was like, be careful. Things not to do in an auction or.
Yeah, right.
So yes, but until we get that, I feel like, you know, I would be very wary of anyone that like, I don't know Azure, and I'd be very wary of like, I shouldn't be doing that coding.
That was my impression also, but I thought that if people manage to make OpenStack work, how bad can Azure can be?
I mean, the OpenStack people did great work, and I think, but I think they were motivated to get it to work, and then we didn't have to do a lot of help, but we helped them do that. And if we need someone that wants Azure support well enough to implement it and sort of own it, and then we can help them with the sort of kops side of things.
Okay, so yes, we need someone that really knows Azure and wants it in the company. Otherwise, it's too much work for it to do it ourselves.
Well, also we do it and we don't really know it, so we probably not do a great job of it, and it probably would bit rot.
And it would be hard to maintain when people come with issues. Like with AWS, it's pretty simple because we all use it, but even Google, because we have many contributors from Google. But yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for all coming.
Thanks for
See you
hosting,
next
John.
2 weeks.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See you.